All right.
We're starting, I'm recording.
All right. Hello, classmates, and hello, local residents. My name is Kyrie Chenault. I'm here today to be conducting a professional interview with the mayor of Freehold Borough, Thomas Kane. How are you today, sir?
Good, thanks. Kevin Kane. Very
Okay.
good, thank you.
All right.
Very good. Hey,
Well,
it's
wait.
all good. It's all good. Good. How you doing? How far? So you're at the end of your program?
I just started actually
Oh, okay.
a few
Okay.
months ago. Yeah, yeah. I just graduated my bachelor's about a year ago. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, just real quick, what interested you in Freehold Borough, and what we were doing? What brought you to our attention?
Well, particularly that I'm actually a longtime Freehold resident, Freehold Township in particular.
Okay.
Very close by. I currently reside in Howell, so I'm very interested in the local affairs and whatnot, and the local issues, particularly with transportation, infrastructure, and whatnot. So there's an
Excellent.
issue that's interested me in particular.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, how do you want to do that? You want, because I see the questions that you had prepared. You want to we'll run down those. You want to ask, or you want to just talk about things, or how do you
Yeah.
want to do this?
I guess we can start with the questions. I guess we can go by section. So I guess we'll
Okay.
start off with the overall downtown Freehold vision plan that's been planned out for the last 10 years or so. I think started in
Right.
2000, correct? What exactly are those perimeters for this study area?
It's broken down into three general areas, but just before we get into details, I started as mayor. I was a councilman prior to becoming mayor. You know, our mayor Nolan Higgins decided not to run for re-election, so I did, and fortunately won. And
Yeah.
you know, and so I started in January, and our administrator resigned at the same time. So we were searching for a new administrator, and we interviewed and hired Steve Gallo. And one of Steve's expertise is redevelopment, you know, and
Oh, wow.
throughout the course of our searching, we were looking for somebody that really had knowledge and experience in redevelopment. Because as you mentioned, it had been studied and studied and studied.
Yeah.
And I said to Steve, I remember when we came on board, we met early January. I said, we're done talking. It's time to start doing. So, because we've as you can see online, there's study after study after study. So what we wanted to do in our area, and you know, growing up in Freehold Township and currently living in Howe, we're the only one in our main area that has a viable downtown. And and as you know, we have great restaurants in our town, and what we wanted to do was create a model to enhance that downtown area, not to change the historic footprint or any of the buildings, but enhance it to bring more people. If you take a look, one of the examples we like to use a lot is Red Bank. You take a look at Red Bank, they have a great mix of destination retail, great restaurants, but they also have some venues that bring people to town. You know, they obviously have that train station there, but you know, you look at the Count Basie Theater.
Yeah.
It's a great example. They have the Two River Theater. So there's venues in town that bring people to Red Bank. So say somebody's not familiar with Red Bank, but goes to a show or a play at one of those two venues, comes into town, has dinner, pre-COVID. This is all pre and post-COVID, you know, we'll talk about. But come in, have dinner, and then go to a show, and then maybe after the show, go back to one of the restaurants or bars or whatever. It's a way to bring people to town. And then once they come, you know, they see what it's all about, they're going to come back. So our vision is to create that downtown area that brings people outside of just coming to eat, you know, and in the summers you see our main street is just packed with people.
Yeah.
But we need people coming year round and doing other things besides eating. So that was the basis of the study of the vision plan. And then there's three actual components to our redevelopment plan. There's what we're calling the the transit gateway area around the bus station and the firehouse. There's the courthouse area, which is another part, and then there's across from the gateway, there's a Borough Plaza area.
Okay.
So what we want to do is we want to try to obtain the transit village designation. I know I'm kind of jumping it. That's down the line a little bit question wise, but in doing that, we would be the only town or one of a few towns to have that designation with a bus station as opposed to a rail station with that designation. And when they did the count on what was happening and a number of people coming in and out of town through our bus station, they couldn't believe the numbers, so it's there. So if you take that live, work, play mentality and you couple it with our great downtown, that's the redevelopment model we're looking for, is to really enhance that whole thing.
Okay.
So that's an overview.
Yeah, but it's a good place to start.
Okay.
Have you received any compliments about how downtown Freehold currently is? Like, for instance, you mentioned how in the summertime there's a lot of events such as like farmer markets. They have car shows. I know they have like talent shows around by Hall of Records.
People love it. We have a special improvement district that runs our downtown area, and they, they'll put on the summer concert series. They have the farmers market on Fridays throughout the summer. The idea being to bring people to town, and what we want to do is just enhance that mentality and create other ways to bring people into our town. It's the only downtown, it's what we call the downtown of Western Monmouth County.
Yeah.
Red Bank has that for Eastern Monmouth.
Mm-hmm.
We have it for Western Monmouth. So we want to, but it's got to be smart redevelopment. We just can't say, hey, we want to redevelop this. It's got to be smart, because prior to the last few years, we were the third most underfunded school district in the entire state. Wow. So we can't really do anything that's going to have a negative impact on our schools. We got to make sure it's smart redevelopment. We want to create, through our Complete Streets program and our safe routes to school programs, create ways to make it, the walkability, the bikeability, the Henry Hudson Trail, Monmouth County. I don't know if you know of this. There's a 17-acre site, which was an old Stavola concrete producing site that Monmouth County bought to create a county park.
Yeah,
and it's going to tie in the Henry Hudson Trail with their plans to head east along the railroad tracks through Allaire and eventually wind up in Manasquan. Their goal, and I don't know what the time frame is exactly, but you'd be able to ride a bike from the Manasquan Inlet to Sandy Hook, with the main hub being Freehold Borough. Yep. So again, that's going to be bringing people in. So we got to create, as we redevelop, we got to make sure our streets and our road programs are compatible with bikes and pedestrians, and we have to have a parking management structure that basically by monetizing assets, we can reduce capital expenses through smart parking also. So we're looking. It's a whole picture, but it's a pretty robust plan. But we believe it's going to be one that a lot of other municipalities are going to be copying by the time we get this thing rolling. So
that's a good segue to the next question, which is, how has the land analysis been in regards to new parking, as an example, or even the introduction of like bike lanes and other walkability friendly transportation?
Yeah, we hired a parking consultant to do a study for us, because the complaint we were getting is that there wasn't enough parking. Mm-hmm. They did a study that showed there's plenty of parking.
Oh, okay.
It's just not managed properly. A lot of your prime spots that visitors to restaurants and businesses would normally take are being used up on a long-term basis by employees and owners of the businesses, so there's a whole philosophy about the parking management, that we're actually, we have a parking committee. So what we're doing is we're meeting with the consultant again within the next week or two
Okay.
to get an update on the plan, roll it out to the parking committee, roll it out to the businesses, and then roll it out to the residents on, for the reasons why. And just a quick example for you is the cost to maintain these parking lots.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to the restaurants downtown, ever parked in the market yard.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If we were to repave that, if you mill and pave that, I mean, you're talking probably close to $800,000-900,000. So the thing is, it becomes a capital expense to the town, which, if you had a different way to fund that, you wouldn't have that burden. So there's a lot of reasons that we need to look at the entire picture, which is what we're doing. And it's going to be something. It's going to be great. We're very, very excited. Steve and I talk about it all the time. I know he's just sitting there listening, and he would probably love to be chiming in right now. But we talk about this often, about how this is going to work.
Yeah, that's good. Now, the second big component to the revitalization of Freehold Borough, particularly the downtown area, has been the proposed Borough Green. That's part of the Transit Village project.
What was that? I lost you a little bit, Kyrie. What was that?
The Borough Green.
Okay.
So what are you most excited about this particular endeavor in the project?
Yeah, and that was a model that was developed. I mean, I know some of your questions of what developers have we talked to. We're not at that point yet. This is still in the very early stages, even though we've been studying it for 10 years. The actual development part of it is just starting. But you need to create public space areas. We're working with Sustainable Jersey. We're certified in Sustainable Jersey, and that's going to be an important part. That you have public areas, you have green areas, and all encompassing, adequate parking and the parking management, and it's all tied together. But that's a very, very important piece. In a fully developed small town like ours with a high density, it's tough to create those areas, those park areas, in the town. I mean, the fact that we're going to have a 17-acre county park in the middle of Freehold Borough, which is 2 square miles, is crazy. But their plan is to have this park, and I don't know if you know where the old train station, the corner of Jackson and Mechanic.
Where that is. Yeah.
That's going to be the visitor center for their park, and the Henry Hudson Trail is going to go behind the building, and it's going to open it to that huge park. And that park runs down the railroad tracks all the way over to the Little League field. So the area, that the whole Center Street area, I mean, that's going to see a tremendous boost, just by creating that huge park area. The people that are into walking and biking and lifestyles, that incorporate exercise are going to love and want to come live, work, and play in Freehold Borough. So that's exactly what we're doing. There's a lot of things that are in the pipeline where the timing is just all coming together. It's exciting. I mean, you can see I'm a little excited about it. We can't wait. And honestly, this was all when, like I said, Steve and I started in January. We had a list of things that we had to get done, and this was on the top of the list. And things were rolling along, and then something called COVID came upon us, and just then we went into defense mode for public safety to make sure our residents were safe. So
we'll get into COVID a little bit later in the interview.
Okay.
I would like to now go into like the proposed residential units that are part of the Transit Village project. Now, yeah, ground hasn't been broken officially yet, but you guys have talked to a few developers and whatnot of conceptual like idealization is of how like the residential units can be built, where they can be built, and whatnot. Um, I understand that you guys talk to a lot of developers, but which developers are you eyeing the most and potentially like working with in regards to building housing developments?
Honestly, we haven't talked to any yet.
Oh,
We haven't talked to any developers yet. We want to make sure our plan is intact. Like I worked up in Jersey City for a few years, and saw what was happening in Jersey City, where they were taking areas and redeveloping, and Steve Phillips, a pretty forward thinker, and
yeah,
there was a lot happening up there. But the key is for you to control the redevelopment,
yeah.
as opposed to a developer coming and tell you, here's what I'm going to do. You
I
know,
get what you're
we
saying.
need to create the plan. And that's where the transit village designation takes you to a whole nother level of developers. You have seasoned developers that work in historic type towns like ours. It's like Somerville comes to example,
Yeah,
comes to mind. We were up. I was looking at Somerville, and they had a whole block, and there was like a Wolfgang Puck's restaurant, and it was a whole mixed use. I mean, the whole first floor was all retail. There were units above. They have a train station right there also, so there was a lot of millennials in there, and that's I have a nephew who lived in New York City, just recently moved up to Boston, but they just lived in the city, and they would just take mass transit all over the place, no car, and just buses, trains, or people, and that's that whole live, work, play mentality. Somebody wants to get up in the morning, grab a breakfast sandwich or something, jump on a bus or a train, go to work, come home, change, and be able to walk to a downtown area and have dinner, go to a show, a play. And, they like that, or like in the case of a bike, jump on, say they're living in, a redeveloped housing area that we're going to develop, they come home, get changed, grab their bike, and jump on the Henry Hudson Trail and ride to Sandy Hook, or
yeah.
so. There's just tremendous options that we're excited about. So
Definitely. I'm excited about them too. Based on current demographic changes, with so many people leaving the city to come back to the suburbs, how do you see this play in part with the transit village designation? Do you think it, in a way, actually speeds up the process and finding a good developer that could be able to implement this type of housing due to the need, I guess?
yeah, there's going to be, we have you know, we have other plans too for housing plans too, for affordable housing, and make sure
Yeah,
uh, we have the whole mix, like they talked about, a lot of your millennials, they're maybe married, maybe not, no kids, or you have a lot of empty nesters, so as opposed to, they may live in a house with, 3, 4 bedrooms or something in town, that may want to, 2-bedroom apartment or something like that. They want to downsize, and what we need to do is, and we have a great relationship with our schools, with our board of ed and our superintendent and business administrator. We got to make sure we're together. We're communicating, so that there's not a tremendous negative impact. We're just at the point now where we've had a significant increase in state aid, which has helped us come back close to where we need to be.
yeah,
We can't have that go in the other direction, and have a problem with our schools again. So we need to take the whole thing and see what the best use is. I mean, there's gonna be a mix of everything, because you grew up in Freehold Township, spent a lot of time in the borough. Freehold boroughs is as diverse as they come. We have and honestly, we brag about that, because we think our diversity is our biggest asset.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. And, and we're going to welcome everyone, to our town and make sure everybody fits. You're going to be reading about soon too. We've created a Freehold Borough Equality Initiative that, is also going to be a model for other towns to copy. So there's a lot happening. I'm glad you called after this interview because, we'll be able to follow up on a few different things going forward as you work through your program.
Of course. I had a few questions regarding NJ Transit in particular. So with the NJ Transit Village, do you foresee like any plans or negotiations in regards to like implementing railway in the region? I know there's been the long proposed MOM line, but I guess that's been in a bit of development hell for the last 15, 20 years. I mean,
The problem is in the MOM part itself because you're talking about 3 counties, and there's many municipalities that run through those 3 counties, and not all of them are on board. So every time it gets close, Freehold Borough, I'm telling you, we've been on board with this from the first time we heard it, because if we could fire up that rail line again, it would be tremendous for us. Like I know Freehold Township has gone to the state. I think when Governor Christie was in, it was a little political. They went to the state to try to run, the MOM line through Freehold Township. We're like, why are you going to do that? Why are you reinventing the wheel? The tracks run right through Freehold Borough, and we have a train station. Use those existing lines. You don't have to. So we've been for it, but there's some towns in Middlesex that, that aren't for it and just keep shooting it down every time it's brought up again. But, I haven't heard about it personally in a few years. So I don't think it's dead. I mean, as long as the tracks are there, I don't think it's dead, but it hasn't taken a breath in many years. But if we could do that, I would be all in. Yeah. That being said, as far as New Jersey Transit goes for the bus station, I would like to see personally, as part of our redevelopment plan, an enhanced state-of-the-art bus station. As we develop this and start talking to developers and we'll have redevelopment professionals working with us, we plan on reaching out to New Jersey Transit and others about how we go about getting a new facility, whether it's through grant money or some kind of partnership with the state. We're going to explore that a little bit more because of the sheer fact of the volume that goes through that, what they call Freehold Center. That's the bus stop for next to the firehouse is called Freehold Center. I'm sure you know. Tremendous volume. So if we do our whole redevelopment plan, and it's going to start there, that's going to be the first one. It's starting in that area. We're going to reach out and say, hey, here's what we're thinking. How can we enhance this and create a better facility for people? I got to know, like Steve had mentioned, there's some towns where they have built, New Jersey Transit has built a new bus station, with a restaurant attached, somebody builds a restaurant next to it and things like that. I think there's plenty of opportunity for that, and we're going to explore that as, probably within the next 6 months, I would think.
Yeah. Maybe perhaps can join the current readers over there with the bus station. That would be a really good idea,
I mean, if, right now everybody has it timed out pretty well, because there's not a lot of area, as so if if your bus is coming at 6:05, you're getting there around 6:03.
Yeah.
and jumping on the bus. But, on the back end, somebody comes in for a show or a play or something like that, takes an earlier bus, visits our downtown, goes to the restaurants, walk around a little bit. That's all. We're thinking about the future. We have a great town with a tremendous history, and what we're doing is looking to just enhance that. And I know I keep using that word a lot, but it's gonna be you're gonna be you're gonna be writing about us, but you're gonna be reading about it too.
Definitely. Would you agree that with the premise that the success of this project of a scale like this is also pertinent to the fact that it's equally accessible to both drivers and walkers, the accessibility of people in an automobile and people biking or walking on the sidewalks?
It has to be a mix, and that's where our complete streets program is going to come into play, because we have to make sure, because as you know, we're surrounded by some pretty wealthy towns.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you have Colts Neck, and you have a few right in the area. Most likely, everybody's not going to ride their bike into town. Most people are going to come in, so that's where our parking management system needs to be compliant with our whole redevelopment of the complete streets. Make sure it's accessible to pedestrians, bicycles, scooters, cars, everything. The buses coming in and out.
Yeah.
We need to make sure the access, because I don't know if you're on Main Street in the afternoon and the buses start rolling in from the city. I mean, it's not as crazy as it used to be with COVID, but back in the day, I mean, it was just chaotic with buses trying to get out on Main Street and cars trying to come into town. So we have to manage that. They say there's a worse problem than traffic in your town, and that's no traffic in your town.
Yeah.
If you have no traffic, you have a bigger issue than trying to figure out how to manage the traffic. So that's and it's all part of our traffic management and our parking management system. So so we'll and again, that's where the complete streets come in, to make sure that it's all compatible.
Has there been an analysis on the impact of automobile traffic data in relation to the presence of pedestrians at peak times of the day around by the transit zone that you're proposing?
I'm not sure if we've done car counts per se. Like I know they were counting the number of people utilizing the bus station coming and going, and so we have the counts on that. I don't know if the county, and the thing with Freehold Borough, where Main Street and South Street are, right?
Yeah.
One's a county highway, one's a state highway. 79 is a state highway.
Oh, yeah.
537 is a county highway. So they intersect right in the middle of our town. So I'm not sure if they've done studies, but like 537 is a main connector from East and Western Monmouth County.
Yeah.
And 79 is a main connector from like 34 to 9, so you have a lot of people coming through. So I don't know if we'll have to know that, when we really start talking to developers, what the actual counts are with cars and buses. Fortunately, there's not as much truck traffic. And you said you always lived in Freehold Township?
I originally lived in New York when I was a kid, and then I moved to township when I was around 9 or 10 years old.
You're still too young to remember. I mean, prior to the bypasses, like the 33 bypass and all of that, a lot of those trucks used to come through town, and that really would jam things up. So now with the, it's basically a Route 9 and a Route 33 bypass. 9 bypasses. It goes from Manalapan on Kozlowski Road and bypasses all the way over to Howell. That they're doing that last part on Halls Mills Road now to connect down a little south of Woolies Fish Market.
All right, nice.
So that's the Route 9 bypass, and the Route 33 bypasses, before you get to Route 9, and then bypasses over into Howell a little bit before the cabin. So that eliminates a lot of our truck traffic. So which helps.
Yeah, definitely.
It needs to be one package. And again, which is going to be our plan, that we're going to go to the developers and say, hey, here's what we want to do. What do you think? So.
And in the relation of implementing safe intersections, understanding the idea of quote unquote arterial dead ends. Will you say that these components of a safe and functioning TOD are more pertinent to walkers, drivers, or a mixture of both?
I'd say a mixture. I mean, we have to make sure, again, too, you're going to look at your utilization of the smaller streets. Are they better off one way, or you keep them two way? For years and years and years, people complained about not having a traffic light at the intersection of Main and Throckmorton, right there by Rita's, by the bus.
Yeah.
But the state has come in and studied this as well as the county numerous times,
Mhm.
and said because of the fact that the main light right in front of the Hall of Records there, it didn't warrant another light 100 yards down the street. So, but if we can do some things to improve bus transportation, then maybe what we do is take a look at maybe making a one way and trying to reroute some traffic. So yeah, I'd say it's going to be a combination.
Okay, and that's the best way to do it. Who do you think a possible train line, if it ever were to come to fruition, or expansions to the bus transit station, would benefit the most? New York City commuters, or people who may not necessarily work in the city, but who may like to use it for like visiting family up in the city or whatnot? Do you think it could pose like a bit of like a socioeconomic clash between people a little bit more wealthier who may need public transit to commute to the city, and people who are more working class that may just need it for like, the convenience of going to the city in case for a doctor's appointment or whatnot?
Uh, I don't think. You say you think it would be a clash?
I was just asking you, like, do you think there could be like a bit of like a backlash of people who, I guess, the not in my backyard types, like, people who don't want their taxes going up for a train line they may barely use, like you may.
Nah, I think of it as an asset. I don't think it would be a detriment. I don't think we would have that. You know, you may have that in surrounding areas, but the distance that the train would actually physically be in for Freehold Borough, I mean, if it would come along that park, that we're talking about, that county park,
Yeah.
come right up, and it crosses the town in a 3-block period. So it's really not a lot of time in Freehold Borough. But I think like we talked about early on, if we can create, establish a couple venues that bring people to town for shows or plays or concerts, whatever, or just to take a train to come in and eat at the restaurant and jump on it. I think that would be pretty cool. I think you would see people doing that also, and then people utilizing it for work. There's a lot of like, I don't remember this, but like a generation or two before me, people used to take the train to go to Notre Dame High School in Trenton. Like the Catholic kids in Freehold Borough would jump on a train to go to Notre Dame High School in Trenton. And that's when the train was. I think they stopped utilizing the trains in the 1950s. But prior to that, you had 2 trains. One was the New York line that went out by, we're talking about that park area where the Henry Hudson Trail is now. They used to run through Matawan to New York, and the other one used to run, west towards Trenton. So, they had 2 running back then, and like I said, I don't remember that, but I've heard stories of people talking about it. Oh yeah, I take the train to high school every day, and so pretty cool. So I think, I'm not sure it will ever happen. If it gets to a point and it can be pushed, we'll be pushing it, because I would love to. I think it'd be just an added benefit for what we're trying to do. And like I said, if we could talk to New Jersey Transit to get another bus facility, that train facility is still there, so we could.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned before it's possibly because other towns don't want to approve something like that. Do you think it's also partly because there's been some mismanagement in the state level of government?
I think it's purely politics, and it goes back to that "not in my backyard" thing. To be honest, I mean, there's towns that say there's no way I don't want a train running through my town or through my area. Everybody, it's that NIMBY mentality that I'll use it, but don't run it through here, kind of thing. So I don't say it's mismanagement, but it's more politics. Like I mentioned, every once in a while you'll hear people talk about it, and like, where'd that come from? Like you haven't heard about it in 4 years, and all of a sudden, boom, it's an issue again.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about it in a while, but we would be all for it. The people that I shouldn't say we. I would be all for it, and I think there's some members of our council that would like that idea too, because it plays into our whole redevelopment plan. So
Definitely. So you'll definitely say that it's a mixture between some constituents not being for it and the politicians acting in that behalf. Could you say?
I think there's constituent angst about not being for it that create some politicians to say, no, there's no way, because I don't have. Bottom line is the votes aren't there. We don't have the votes for it to go from A to B. The votes aren't there to see this thing all the way through. So you go from here to here, and then what happens? Then the line stops. It's useless. So until they can get the votes to take it the entire length, it's never going to work. So that's why I think the politics part of it comes into the votes just not being there to support it.
Unfortunately, but besides the politics, it would definitely be a net societal boon for the Freehold regional economy. Correct?
Yeah, I think so. I from the first time I heard about it, I was in favor of it. So, but it's just, for as much as I'm in favor of it, there could be 3 other people that are flat out against it. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think the consensus is there to get the project done. But that being said, this year is a hard year to really compare to. But if you drive to like when I was working in Jersey City for those 3 years, I mean, the commute was horrible. I mean, it wasn't a lot of miles, but it was anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours each way. I mean, by the time you drive up Route 9, jump on the Parkway, and then jump on the Turnpike, you never know what was going to happen. So just the volume, New Jersey's, you've heard the governor say many times, we're the densest state in the country, and there's so many people that drive, and I think there needs to be more of a demand for mass transit, so when this rail conversation comes up, I think we need to get a little more serious about it. But I don't know if, like I said, I don't think the consensus is there, which is why it's never elevated to the next level.
And one more question related to this. There's also been talks about the Gateway project that has been, I guess, a little bit all-encompassing regarding the MOM line, and there's other proposed NJ transit lines over the years. I'm not sure if you've been aware about, I guess, like the federal, like footballing of budgets being allocated and whatnot every year. Do you think that could have something to do with it, like the federal government response, the sort of back and forth in that aspect?
Yeah, I don't know, but I understand that Gateway project is back in conversation. So that would help the cause a little bit, putting another tube, into New York. But yeah, I don't know if it would tie directly to this MOM project or not, but if we could bring it to the table and start talking about it again, I'd support it. So maybe I may have to make a few phone calls and ask and see what the status is on that. Now that you brought it up, let me make a note of that.
Definitely.
Because
Yeah.
if we could tie it to that gateway project, that would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now let's move away a little bit from transportation and infrastructure and
Okay.
starting off this interview on a bit of a somber note with COVID-19. So, what efforts have you and your council have made in addressing COVID-19 and this public health crisis in regard? So,
We started, um, Steve and I talked in March, early March, that this is going to be an issue. Um, and the key is the communication. You have you have your OEM, your emergency management personnel. You have everything in place, but the key is that everybody needs to know what everybody else knows.
mhm,
So what we did is set up what we called an OEM COVID task force kind of thing, where we had a call every week. And in the beginning, we started March 9th, I believe, was our first meeting. And we did it for 20 weeks.
okay.
And there was probably anywhere from 20 to 25 people on the call. Myself, Steve, our police chief, our fire chief, our health officer, our OEM coordinator, the downtown restaurants, the clergy association, everybody involved. And then what we did is we went right through and let everybody speak, you know, about, representative from our hospital, from Central State, and everything was like what's and we would just go through, what do you need? What do you hear? And that kind of thing. And we'd run through, and it was really, really productive because, somebody might have talked to somebody and boom, they're sharing it with the group. Now the entire group knows. So we could do our planning based on real-time information, and it worked out well. And one of the things that Steve and I talked about, probably after the second, third week of these meetings, Steve said to me, what's gonna happen here is people are gonna be out of work, you're gonna be tight on money, they're gonna need to eat, and we have to figure out a food supply. So we started, there's many different groups within Freehold Borough. You have Open Door, we have Neighborhood Connections to Health, we have Casa Freehold. Um, there's a lot of different groups, the YMCA, and they're all were doing food programs where they were receiving donations and handing out food, but nobody knew what the other was doing. So what we did is we came up with what we called the Freehold Food Safety Net, and coordinated these efforts. And again, we did a separate meeting, and they were all Zoom meetings. And we did a separate meeting with all of these organizations to figure out, like, all right, on Monday you do this, on Tuesday. So now, and it's still going on. We never stopped. We did the COVID meeting for like 22 weeks or something like that. And then we stopped a little bit in the summer, and then we just started up 3 weeks ago again because we started numbers starting to go up again. So we started again. But the food safety net meetings never stopped. They held weekly meetings to the point now where if you need food, there's somewhere in Freehold Borough you can go every day and get food, no questions asked. You come up, and you're handed a bag of food, or if you have kids, there's diapers and formula and things like that. And it's all through donations. We have a tremendous organization called Meet the Need. Reggie and Yvette Anderson, it's a nonprofit. They just they do a lot of work in town, but just set up an office in town also. And I forget what I don't know how many families they fed at Thanksgiving with turkeys and everything. And now they're doing a whole Christmas thing where they're adopting families. And
Right.
so it's a tremendous, when we talk about the diversity before, it's all these organizations coming together for the needs of the residents. And it's not just Freehold Borough, it's the entire community. Like you said, there's no questions asked. If you need something, there's somebody that can find a way to help you. So between the COVID task force, and like today, our health officer, we had 68 new cases in Freehold Borough in the last week.
Wow.
That equated to, like, from probably August through October, I don't know if we had 68 total cases. Now we're back up, and that's a week's time. So the numbers are exploding around us, and it's just that it's that information that can be passed on, so people can make educated decisions about what needs to happen. So that's something that we're really proud of. One, we have this organization that's all working together to help get through this, and then we have this food safety net. And we also do something too, every Wednesday. Well, right before this, we have community conversation with the mayor. The prior mayor, prior to me, Nolan Higgins, used to have mayor's office hours, he called them. So for an hour every week, he'd open his office and people come in. We started doing that, and then COVID hit, so we had to close Borough Hall. So we came up with the idea we're going to have what we call community conversations with the mayor. So Steve does an office suite, sets it up, and we put it out to the residents. Today I think we had 6 residents on, and it's just question and answers, whatever's on their mind, and it's starting to grow a little bit, and the response has been great. So between our COVID task force, our food safety net, the community, one of the things we talked about early on is just communication, just improving our communication to the residents, and using social media platforms and everything we could think of, and now the biggest key with COVID is the education of, if you're not feeling good, what you should be doing, and so we're always, Steve is always searching CDC websites or whatever, and we have the handouts. We have a large Hispanic population in Freehold Borough, so one side's English, one side's Spanish, and we hand out this information with our food distribution. So who's ever out handing out food, they're handing out educational information too about, because that's where our health officer is saying the spread is coming from. It's family type situations, which create a community spread. It's not your restaurants or things like that. I mean, the restaurants, the report today, somebody asked about, is the governor going to close restaurants? And our business advocate said, there's really not a reason to do that in Freehold Borough, because people just aren't coming. They're using takeout and things like that, but they're not coming inside a restaurant, sitting down, having something to eat. It's just, people are too cautious about that. So we have some very good programs, and in talking to people from other towns that here, we're getting some compliments about all we're doing in comparison. So we're pretty excited about that. That's a long answer to that one question. But.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I would imagine the Board of Education has been immensely impacted by COVID-19, though, particularly.
Yeah, and actually both superintendents, our elementary school district here in Freehold Borough, and Chuck Sampson, who's the superintendent of the Freehold Regional High School District, which is, as you know, the largest in the state, are both on these calls every week, and they're going over, like the regional system. There's 6 high schools for 8 towns, as you know. So he was detailing today. He was saying 3 of them are totally like Freehold Borough, Freehold Township, and they work real close with Margie Young, the health officer. And Margie said the numbers are too high. You need to go virtual on the borough and the township high schools. And then Howe also. So Freehold Borough, Freehold Township, and Howe are virtual through January 11th. And the other 3, Marlboro, Manalapan, and Colts Neck, are still open. It's a hybrid situation. So, but and again, who would know that unless you're having a conversation with Chuck Sampson, or know of a teacher in the high school, or just have a student there. Here now, it's relayed to, there was 22 people on the call this morning. Now there's 22 others that are given real-time accurate information. And then same thing with the Borough Elementary Schools, Dr. Tomasic, same thing. You know, we have a great relationship with all of them, which is a tremendous benefit. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it's a tremendous impact on them trying to make this work. But you know, we're working real close with them also.
And would you also say there has been a tremendous impact to the NJ Transit Village project as well?
School projects like
NJ Village project we were talking about before. Transit
I'm
Village.
sorry, what was it? I lost you a little bit. What was it?
Has this been an impact? Has this been a big impact to the NJ Transit Village project?
Yeah, it kind of got not put on the back burner. One of the things we had to do first, we're in the middle of moving our borough hall. You know, we're going to purchase another property and consolidate our municipal operations and our police operations into one location. That we, you know, currently lease space for our police department. So we're in the process of closing on a building right across from the Monmouth County Clerk's office, as a matter of fact. So, so that's going to free up our current borough hall, which is going to get the ball rolling for this whole redevelopment thing. So you know, there's stepping stones, and that was one of the first things. Yeah, that started towards the end of last year. We kind of accelerated a little bit in January to make it happen, and here we are. We're you know, Steve probably knows a little bit even more than me, because it's a you know, evolving thing on a daily basis that we're about to close on this thing. So
yeah.
So, but it was a little COVID related, but more of a step that had to be done before the next step could be taken. So.
Yeah. And so to end on a bit of a lighter note, how do you foresee the vitality of downtown Freehold and Freehold Borough at large, despite the COVID-19 pandemic? What do you perceive the town to be like 10 years from now?
I have huge visions. There's some things in the pipeline that if they come to fruition, people will be flocking to. They won't be able to get to Freehold Borough fast enough, in my opinion. So we have to take it a step at a time. But again, we have an historic downtown with, you know, like if you drive down Main Street, you know, it's like out of something like a Norman Rockwell painting or something. You know, we have that historic downtown. It's the county seat of Monmouth County. If we can enhance that and create the housing and the parks and the bike paths and, you know, the transit village and all that around this, it's going to be something very, very special. So I'm looking for, hopefully you could follow up on this 10 years from now, and we could see how we did. Steve and I have a little scorecard that we talk about all the time, and we check off the boxes as things happen. So you check back in with us 10 years from now. Hopefully we have a huge check next to this redevelopment plan.
Yes, you know, hopefully you guys get an A+ on that.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it was a pleasure, Mayor Kane, for being allowed to interview you about these pertinent questions to Freehold Borough between infrastructure, NJ Transit, COVID-19 and whatnot. It was really a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me, Kari, and best of luck in your studies and in your program. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to call or email. You have Steve's email.
Yeah.
He can give you my email and phone also, and feel free to call me whenever. Like I said, I went back in 2017, 15. I started the master's program at Rutgers, and everybody said to me, "What the heck are you doing going back to school now at this age?" So I told her, I used to kid around. I said, I told everybody it took me 35 years to get over my first 4 years of college. I was going to go back and try 2 more. So it worked out well. I was so glad I did it. And, you know, and my capstone project was on participatory budgeting, which we do in Freehold Borough too, which is a whole other thing. But yeah, best of luck to you, and feel free to call me whenever if you any questions or any follow-up questions for this. Be glad to answer them for you.
I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. Take care.
Take
Hey,
care.
Harry, I'll get you a copy of this out to you tomorrow, okay?
All right.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Thank you very much for setting this up too.
Yeah, take care, folks. Have a good night.